Tell you lies and you bottom. High, going on, going on. I said it's nice to meet you. Now you're doing fine. How can we be strangers after tonight?
Hey everyone, I am just logging in here to Pirouette by Chiiild on the Taurus season playlist that Lindsay Mack has created. Hi, my name is Carrie, and I am your empowering educator. Normally, I would be here with my partner in crime to do a little session of comedy, astrology, tarot education. But we got our wires crossed, and I'm just here. So this is going to be an abbreviated version of what we would have gotten if I was with a partner, and that's cool. So this is a fun container to play with the cards of the major arcana. I will not be, and minor arcana. I will not be weaving in the astrology as much because I am not as versed in it. But we're just going to play and have a good time. So this is a series that was conceived by myself and a fellow educator and enthusiast of all things of the occult. And it's a way to learn about the cards in a not so systematic and boring way. We actually go through and play with the cards, embody them, so that way we get a little bit more of a feel for what they mean. So right now I have listed out on the screen the 12 cards that we're going to be working with. So the curriculum was devised through a study of the vertical lines of the major arcana, which I have to give credit to Rachel Pollack for talking about the 3 lines of the major arcana, as well as the vertical lines as an inspiration for this curriculum, because when I laid out the vertical lines, always including the Fool, because we are the Fool in every moment of this journey, I saw that there were parallels with the Magician, Strength, and the Devil that could be informative for our understanding of the aces and eights of the tarot. So that's where this came from. And what I'm going to do is go through and pick out a card to play with right now for you all live on YouTube. So you're seeing the Modern Witch Tarot, which is on the screen right now. And I have the Mystic Mondays Tarot in my hand. So the way I like to go about doing this is just kind of feel into what the card means for me. And when I do that, I put myself in a situation or as a character, and I imagine what this card can convey. And this is the process for learning tarot. You can read the guidebooks, you can read amazing literature and studies about the tarot for centuries, and you can discover your own meanings for yourself, and you are just as right as anyone else. So before I pull a card, I just want to take a moment and do a little grounding and centering. So if you are watching me live, or if you are listening to me while you're doing something else, just take a moment and look at the space around you, noting anything that brings you joy or peace. And if it feels good and safe to do so, I'll invite you to close down your eyes and take a nice deep breath in. Exhale it out. And become aware of your body in space, noticing what is supporting you What is holding you? What surrounds you? Whether it's the floor under your feet, a chair under your bottom, a backrest to lean on, gravity, your clothing, the scents around you, anything you hear, and anything you taste. Bring your awareness to every sense apart from sight right now, because we'll be using that a lot. We want to make sure our other senses are also playing along. Take another deep breath in. Feel your connection to the earth, the air, the fire, the water within. And whenever you're ready to take a final deep breath out, we will blink our eyes open. And if it feels good to keep your eyes closed, you can just listen for now and see what that does for your experience. And if you're ready to blink your eyes open, I'm going to show you these 12 cards again. And again, you're going to start to just notice anything you see about these cards. And if you have a deck and if you'd like to pull out these cards and compare the illustrations, feel free to do so. And if this is your first foray into the world of tarot, you can just come along for the ride. So with the cards that I have in my hand, I had one revealed to me, which just means as I was shuffling, it kind of flipped itself over. And so that usually says to me, Carrie, you got to do this. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to embody this card. And as I'm doing that, I invite you to take a look at the cards on the screen and see if you can think about which one this might be. Notice any feelings, any memories, any sensations that come up, and trust that that is guiding you towards a deeper connection with yourself. All right, babe, it's you and me on the road forever. I'm ready to leave behind this dusty old town and go out on the open road for adventure. Yeah, this town can't really hold me. I've been kind of a rebel since the beginning. I don't like authority. I don't care about the rules. I'm just going to be out on my own. And I'd like you by my side, babe. I can see us out in the desert and on the road, just feeling the breeze in our hair and going wherever the wind may take us. I know we won't be able to run forever. I know that at some point we're going to have to sit down and maybe raise a life together, have a career, pop out a couple kids. But for right now, the open road is calling my name. And I'm cracking up because these things just happen. I don't plan them. I haven't rehearsed them. These aren't characters that I know well. And yet, as soon as the card came to me, this is what I felt. So take a moment, and if you already know which one it is, you can kind of think to yourself, what are the qualities that you saw in my performance that relate to that card? And then think about how you know that. Is it something logical? Is it something emotional? Is it something physical? Is it something intuitive? And if you guessed the Eight of Wands, you are correct. So we have this interpretation on the tiny screen from the Mystic Mondays deck, and then on the main screen for the Modern Witch Tarot, where we can see a figure in the desert, on their motorcycle, just going. What's interesting, and I'll get to in just a moment, is that this kind of comes as a progression. It's like we need to have assessed where we are at the time to say, like, this no longer works for me, and then actually commit to like moving on into a new direction. And you can kind of see that with the choice of progression that I did with the eights prior to and then after it. That sort of helped inform also the scene choice that I made. So I'm going to take a moment and take a little body break. This is one of my favorite parts of what we do together with comedy, astrology, tarot, and education, is that we get to have a nice little dance break. Because when we get two in our brains, then we stop tuning into the other parts of our body. So that's also why I used that initial check-in to cut off your sense of sight, which is what we are usually inundated with if we are sighted humans on a day-to-day basis, you know, all the time. And sometimes it's just nice to get out of one sense or one part of our functioning systems and move into another part. So we can stay really, really stuck in the brain and then stop thinking, or sorry, then stop feeling, then stop emoting, then stop intuiting, and playing with the body and feeling our way through and dancing our way through is a nice way to combat that. So we're going to listen to just a little bit of a song called Lovely Lonely by BODUR or BODUR. Just for about a minute or so. I invite you to dance along and maybe sing along if you know the words.
The sunrise before I fall asleep, not because of wild nights or thoughts that guide my dreams. My lonely blues, the color I used to paint the sky that I pictured through my active blind. Oh, my eyes are holy, the hole that's left to hold me closer to the strangers. Yours a name consoles me. Honey, oh, you're lovely, oh, but honey, I'm so lonely.
This is a delightful track. Hopefully you got a chance to get out of your brain and into your body, or you just got to giggle about a woman dancing by herself on YouTube for a little moment. Either way, it's exactly right for you. So this would be the time where we would weave in sort of our systematic understanding of the cards with some of the astrology. But as I mentioned, I am not as versed in the astrology of the cards. And so I'm just going to go from my gut and why this made sense to me in this order. And it is not the right order. Everything is right in the tarot as long as it's not causing harm to anyone. And we are giving homage to our teachers before us. So Starting with the aces of the tarot, these are holy starts. These are things that have been given to us and or are innately within us. So the swords is our intellect, our ideas, our communication, and how we can use that to be discerning and to tell our truths. So you can see this beautiful pink like landscape that's kind of in the clouds. You really feel the expansiveness of this card and how powerful one can feel holding a sword, right? A sword is pretty heavy. It has a lot of weight to it and it has a lot of consequences to it. So if that is our action, if that is our thoughts, that is our ideas, and that is our communication, then we have to wield that with care. So this could be the start of a brand new idea, of a new thought pattern, maybe some logic that has kind of like clicked into place. We can use that to sort of guide us forward in our pursuits of mental clarity and alignment. Next, we have the Ace of Cups, which is all about our heart space, our emotions, and you can see the oceanscape, or it could even be a lakescape or riverscape, but it looks like you've got some rocks that are potentially emerging from the water. So I like to think that it could be, a shoreline or a lake line. And you have this, sun coming right behind the cup, which is running over, it is literally overflowing. And this is kind of the reminder that like we have access to an unending well of emotion within, and it's so important to tap into that at any given point, because it's always available to us. This is actually reminding me that a lot of times we operate from a scarcity mindset where we look at what we don't have, what we lack. And the Ace of Cups is the reminder that like, no, we are always abundant. We are always full. We are always overflowing. We just have to be able to access that. And so I feel like the question that you don't have to have an answer to, but that this card likes to ask is, what would make your heart beyond full? Like, what does your heart really want? And sometimes that can be a very scary question. I know that for me, the first time someone asked that of me, I became incredibly emotional because I was like, no one's ever asked me that before. And I don't know if I've ever actually considered that before. So those of us who may be a little disconnected from our hearts, it can be really hard to know what we truly, truly want. But this card is the invitation that that's always available to us. We just have to be able to tune into it to access it. Next, we've got the Ace of Wands, which is a landscape with a river kind of running through it, and then this wand coming out of the clouds. And this is the fire in our souls, the things that we use to drive our passions forward. So it's aligned with the Ace of Cups in that it's a fulfilling, heart-centered like journey, but this is more like the inspiration, like the passion behind what we do. So if you think about like what fires you up, what makes you like really ready to go, it could be having to do with like righting a wrong or justice and injustice, but I also could just be speaking from my own, this is what it means to me, and you get to decide what it means to you. But when I see this like city in the background, I think about how we erect cities, or not we, but like our ancestors, especially if we're on colonized lands, like they have erected these places that got displaced indigenous homes and land because colonizers wanted that space. And when I see something like this, it's almost like the wand is coming in to be like, how can we rectify this? How can we make this right? How do we give land back, do reparations, and kind of get into that place of like leaving behind what once was and being able to I don't want to be drastic, but like burn it to the ground and then build something else, because sometimes you need to be able to start back over from the beginning. And then we have the Ace of Pentacles here, which is this beautiful verdant landscape. You have trees, you have mountains, you have flowers and bushes, and lots of things look like they're growing, because Pentacles is the suit of Earth. So this is what is tangible, what is material, what is physical in our lives. And this could have to do with our bodies. So, how we tend to our physical selves, which many of us are very disconnected from. How we tend to our finances. So what supports us, in the capitalist society that we live in. It could be in our homes. How do our physical spaces support us? And it also could be anything that like we tangibly create. If you're a cook, if you are a knitter, if you are a I don't know, you make anything like with your hands or your body. You are a parent and you have created something from your body. Like this is all about kind of tending to that. If you're a gardener, you can use the analogy of like, how do we get that to grow, right? How do we create the environment in which these things can all be nurtured to then grow? So the order of these 4 cards is intentional because we often start in the realm of the mind, but then we can, because capitalism tends to keep us disconnected from our hearts, our souls, and our bodies. This is a chance of kind of bringing in all 4 of those things and saying like, how can I take my intellect, my emotion, my passion, and then create something tangible that's then going to support me moving forward? Now I want to actually talk about the major arcana before we move into the 8s, because I do think that there's like a bit of a story that needs to be told to then get to the 8s. So we have the Fool here of the major arcana, which is the embodiment of like play, of who knows, of present moment, just awareness. And this is a place that we all have inhabited. We probably were just very young the last time we allowed ourselves to do that. And now we look at someone like this and we pass judgment, or we want to save them, or we want to stop them. When in actuality, we can embody this energy at any point throughout our lives. It's just a matter of deciding that you're going to say like, fuck it. As long as your actions are not causing any harm, it's important from time to time to just trust in that leap of faith, in whatever is going to happen, whatever the universe is going to provide, and say, you know what, I don't know what is the next step, but I'm going to do it with my headphones on. I'm going to do it on this beautiful sunny day. I'm going to do it with my, buddy, my canine buddy by my side, and I am going to be okay. Even if I fall and scrape my leg, like, it will heal. Even if I get lost, I will figure out a way home. So that's not to say there's going to be no consequences, because everything that we do has consequences. It might just be that as long as those consequences aren't causing like, major harm to anyone, that we can just say like, fuck it, I'm going to play right now. I'm going to embody this jester, fun, playful energy and just see what happens. That leads us to the Magician. And you may notice that the Magician has all 4 of the suits represented. They have a wand, they have a pentacle, they have a sword, and they are holding, another wand, it looks like. Oh, and there's a cup there too. So, and they have an infinity symbol over their head, which is important because we also see that in the Strength card, which I'll get to in a moment. So the Magician is the reminder that like we do have all of these tools available to us. We have our intellect, we have our hearts, we have our souls, and we have what we actually do, our physical presence in the world. And all of those things help us to be able to be like the creatrixes of our own lives. Whatever gender you identify as, you could be a magician, you could be a witch, you could be a sorcerer, sorceress. And that is all perfect for you because you have everything you need within you. A lot of times we again, get disconnected from all of ourselves. And the magician is the reminder that we get to embody all of those things through accessing sort of that fool-like energy and saying like, you know what? I have all of these things. It's like kind of like a chemist in a lab being like, all right, I've got all of these different ingredients and I'm just going to see what happens when I mix them. Not always the safest thing. You want to make sure you've got some precautions there. But you also can see that like this figure of the magician is that they're standing very confidently. They are in a beautifully, like, it looks like adorned with flowers. You know, I want to and like imagine that they're in like a cave or something. So they're like in a safe, contained place and being like, I'm going to play with all these tools. I'm just going to see what happens. Then we get to strength, which is number 8 of the major arcana, and that's where it leads to the 8s you can see on the second line of the Modern Witch Tarot here. And with the strength card, again, you have this figure who also has the infinity sign over their head. So this could be the same figure as the magician. This could be someone else. This could just be the archetype of, how we can embody strength by inhabiting all of ourselves. And I love both the image of the figure with sort of the floral crown, the floral belt, and then the lion who has like a floral necklace around their neck as well. And you can see that both the figure and the lion are looking in the same direction. And the figure has 2 hands on the lion's head, and the lion looks pretty chill, like pretty docile, not about to like eat or attack this human. And that comes from a place of realizing that, sometimes we have the worst parts of ourselves within us, and they can be very loud and they can drown out some of the best parts within us. So the fact that both the lion is showing incredible restraint and the human is showing incredible trust is kind of like the 2 sides of the coin that we need to embark on when we are on this journey of self-change, actualization, etc. And the 2 infinity symbols over each of these figures' heads is like, this is ongoing work. We never arrive, we never finish. This is cyclical, this is spiralic, as Lindsay Mack, a very prolific tarot teacher, says all the time. This is ongoing work. That is what the infinity symbol symbolizes, that, we're never we can't always be strong. Sometimes we have to like put our hands on our buddy and like lean on them for support. We can't always be the top of the food chain, which I guess in this case doesn't really work because I think humans are technically above lions because we kill everyone and everything. But if like the lion has to sometimes be like, you know what, I'm not going to hunt right now. I'm not going to kill right now. I am just going to enjoy the presence of this human that like maybe I wouldn't have normally gotten along with, but like we've gotten to a measure of comfort with one another to be able to be here, just exist in this space. Then we have the devil. And a lot of people see the devil and they're like, fuck this, I don't want to deal with this card. But the devil, my first introduction to the devil in the Numinous Tarot is called the Shadow. And the shadow is a part of who we are. We do not exist in the world without a shadow, just like the devil is a part of who we are. We do not exist in the world without the devil. So similar to what I was just saying about how there are parts of ourselves that can sort of like take over and really drown out all of the other parts of ourselves, the devil can be that, the like mirror of that, or if you want to say like the inversion of that, if you think about like the upside down from Stranger Things, it's like everything is when these parts of ourselves come out, we can tend to like forget all the good stuff that we've got going on and only focus on the bad. And the devil is going to play with that. The devil is going to feed into that unless we've been able to tap into our strength, to really lean on the supports that we have, to create what we want with the magician, and to really kind of embody the present moment rather than bringing past situations into the future, which is something that anxiety tends to do to us. Again, I'm not a psychotherapist or anything, but I am trauma informed. And the language around NARM is this idea of like futuristic thinking, which is that we take past experiences and we project those into the future, just assuming that that's what's going to happen again. So I'll share something kind of personal, which is that I'm trying to write a book. And the key word there is trying, because I can just sit and write. I have the time, I have the space, I have cleared many things from my life in order to be able to do this. And yet I have this narrative that I don't know what I'm writing about. I don't know what the book is like, where it's going. I can't spend that much time like by myself. I can't give myself permission to spend this time like within my imagination. And what was the other big one that came out? Oh, I never finish anything. So those are all narratives that are very loud in my head when I am trying to write my book. And that's the devil. That's the devil being like, yep, those are all things that are true. And you're just going to listen to those things. And that's what's going to happen in this situation because it's happened in every situation before, even if it hasn't. So the devil is really the chance to kind of like look in the mirror and be like, okay, let's look at this, Carrie. Are these things true? Do they serve me? Can I think about this another way instead of projecting this past narrative onto the future? And I think that the reason this vertical line works together is because you see the magician in strength, or you see maybe the aces, and you're like, all is rosy, all is wonderful. You know, we can do whatever we want. And it's like, yes, and you have to be able to examine the ways in which you kind of get in your own way, and then find the strength within to be able to face up to our own limitations and be able to like shine a light on that shadow self, that devil, and be like, hey, I see you there. I know what you're trying to do, but like, I've got this from here. In recovery, we use the language of reparenting. So the devil is kind of the like inner critical parent, if that language resonates with you, or it could be your inner critic or your ego, whatever words work for you, to be like, all right, I see you, like you're going off and you're telling me all this shit that I have believed forever. And you know what? I also have the strength. I also have the tools. I also have the present tense, the present moment awareness to be like, no, we're going to do it differently this time. So now let me talk about the eights, because I feel like that gives us a little bit of context for how we get from the aces to the eights, because it isn't a straight line. We can have beautiful ideas in the Ace of Swords. We can execute them. We can follow them through. But at some point, we are going to be stuck within our own brains. The Eight of Swords shows us a figure who is blindfolded, who is tied up, who is standing in a very shallow puddle, and is surrounded by these 8 swords. And this is what it can feel like to be going over the same narratives in our brains over and over and over again, and being like, you know what? I am stuck here, but I don't have to be. I can probably wiggle free from these ropes. I can probably take off the blindfold, and I can look around and be like, hey, look, these thoughts aren't actually keeping me imprisoned. This is just something that I have created. I have arbitrarily taken these, let's say, 8 ideas, stamped them in the ground, like, all right, these are the things that I have to do. I have to be, you know, available for. And it's like, you know what? This is just, I've created this stress for myself. I have created this situation for myself, and I can get myself out of it. This is where the magician and the strength come in, to be like, oh, the devil has played with me and told me that I am stuck by my own thoughts, and I actually have the strength and the tools within to walk away from this. Which brings me to the Eight of Cups. I know that there's a glare on here, but you see you've got these 8 cups that are kind of stacked up. And then this figure who is packed. They have a backpack, they have a stick, they have a couple layers and a hat. Like they are ready to move on. Their back are to these things that maybe at one point were fulfilling. So again, kind of going from the Ace of Cups to like, this is what fills me up. You might get to a point, we all get to points in our lives where we're like, is this really like, is this doing what I want it to do anymore? And sometimes we need to look for a bigger purpose, a deeper meaning, and that might mean leaving behind some things that have served us in the past. So whether this is us transitioning from the Eight of Swords to the Eight of Cups, where we're kept by sort of stuck by our thoughts, and or we have these emotional obligations, or that's the best word that's coming to mind. We may have to turn our back on them and be like, you know what, I got to take some time for me right now. I have to reconnect to my inner fool, my inner magician, my inner strength, to be able to make sure that these things have not become like vices or enablers or anything like that. Which brings us to the Eight of Wands, which I embodied earlier. This is kind of like, all right, yeah, this isn't serving me. Now, where do I want to go from here? This is like the taking off card, where you may have had this initial passion that has driven you, but then there could be like, we don't know if these wands are like chasing this figure, or if this person is like running away from them, or if the wands are just like flying along on the side. But either way, there's movement, right? We can't just stay in our ideas phase. We can't just stay in the passion phase. We have to actually like move towards where we want to go. And so the Eight of Wands is about kind of like that fast motion. Think about how fire spreads, right? It can spread very quickly, especially in a desert landscape like you see in the image. And so once we've made the decision to kind of leave behind those thoughts, those emotions, those passions that no longer serve us, we can then take off into the next phase of our journey, which in this case is the Eight of Pentacles. And again, this is what works for me. It might not work for you. If you see a different order that makes sense to you, that's great, because here we have a figure who is like diligently working. And this could be the beginning of the journey where you're diligently working, then feeling stuck by your emotional, baggage, and then by your thoughts, and then you do the motion. So like whatever works for you is great. But we can like plant a seed, but we can't just like leave it there and then expect it to grow, right? We need to water it, we need to check the soil, we need to put it in the sun or in the shade, depending on what it needs. And the Eight of Pentacles is like that rote, unsexy work of healing, of building towards what we really want. So it's not enough to do it once. You can see that this figure is like painting or drawing like all these different pentacles, and they all look the same. The one that I have for the Mystic Mondays Tarot is a little different. It's a similar idea in that you have this person who is, at an easel, they're working towards something, but each one of these pentacles is a little different looking. But that's like the repetitive work of being like, all right, I'm going to play with this. It's not going to be pretty. Not all of these are going to be perfect, but like I am committed to creating something that is going to grow. So in order to actually see the thing bloom, I need to be able to work towards it every single day. And when I say every single day, that's also kind of a capitalist construct. Like you can do it at your, at the pacing that feels good to you. Because again, I'm thinking about my example of the book before, where it's like, if I'm not writing every day, I'm a failure. And it's like, fuck that, Carrie. Like you get to write when you're inspired to. And that's what's going to feel safe to you, instead of forcing yourself to write when you don't want to. This person is embodying that, like, it's not going to be perfect every time. It's not going to be beautiful every time. It might not ever see like the light of day. There might not be like a return on putting in this investment, but eventually I'm going to get to a point, or you're going to get to a point, or we all are going to get to a point where all of that hard work is now just the work. Like that's just what we do to tend to ourselves, our homes, our finances and anything else that we create. So that way it actually supports us moving forward. Okay, so that felt really lovely and also very long. So I am again going to give us an opportunity to move our bodies in a way that feels good. So let's see. All right, this is a song called Heartache by yaeow or yaeow. We'll see. We're going to listen to that for a little bit while I have some water, move my body, and then we'll end with another little embodiment and grounding practice.
I don't know what to do. I barely know what to say. I miss a piece of my heart. It's like I lost my own way. And I don't know where I should go now. Yeah, I don't know you anymore. Yeah. Coastline, sunset, heartbreak, bleeding. Hold the burning turns to heartache. Coastline, sunset, heartbreak, bleeding. Hold the burning turns to heartache. I wanna turn back the time to when things were fine, when we were just friends. You had the look in your eyes, and I know we were younger then. Your life was easier back then. We could talk about anything and everything, yeah. Coastline, sunset, heartbreak, bleeding. Hold the burning turns to heartache. Coastline, sunset, heartbreak, bleeding. Hold the burning turns to heartache.
That was a fun track. I think I've heard that before, but it, yeah, just on the vibes there. All right, so I'm going to end with another little embodiment practice. So you got to see my 8 of Wands before, where we were adventuring out into the unknown. And I'm just shuffling the cards to see what comes out. And I'm going to take a moment and think about how this card plays out for me. So all right, got my water, got my snacks, got my matches, got my tools. All right, everything is packed and ready to go. All right, wow. This is my childhood bedroom. And I am gonna go out into the next phase. I am ready to move on and go on my gap year and see what happens. It's weird though. This is a place that has really supported me my whole life. It's felt very cozy and comforting. But I know I'm ready. I've got everything I need to move on to the next phase of my life, which is going to bring some unknowns. Probably going to be a little cold, probably going to be a little lonely, but you know, I've got what I need right here. All right, I'm ready. It's time to go. So as I was doing that, I was actually sort of envisioning my childhood room, which doesn't exist anymore. My younger sister took my room when I left for college, which is fine. But I have had, times where I have looked around at something that I have created or built or loved and have had to say goodbye. And so a little emotion, is just coming up for me as I'm thinking about that. But I'd love for you to, again, just sort of tune into what you noticed, what you felt, what came up for you as I was in that space, and think about what card it could be. And if you thought the Eight of Cups, you were right. So this image has someone sort of sitting on the edge of a pool with all these 8 cups in front of them. And it looks like they're either getting ready to like dive in or get out, which is sometimes the way it feels when we are thinking about how we need to grow. We need to go beyond safety. We need to go beyond comfort. And this could be a place that is very fulfilling and lovable and loving, but until we go out and see what else is available, we'll never grow. So that is what I have for you today in terms of the understanding of the cards. And if this lands with you, if you are excited about joining this type of a container in order to deepen your embodiment of the tarot at whatever stage of study you are, please reach out. You can comment below. How about with the word childhood, since that just came to mind, and or take a look at the link in the show notes about some upcoming offerings from myself and my partner in crime. So to end this out, let us just take a moment and reorient. We've been using our brains and our eyes quite a lot. So let's remind ourselves that we are humans in a physical space as opposed to floating heads on a screen. And whenever it feels right and safe to you, you can close your eyes and kind of just roll out your body. See if you can get 1% cozier or comfier. Bring your awareness out of your head and your eyes and into your body. Notice your relationship to support, the layers on your skin, the temperature in the room. Now notice your sense of smell by taking a deep breath in. Exhale it out. And this time I want you to imagine one of your favorite scents. For me, that's lavender. So I'm going to inhale and imagine some lavender. Exhale. Definitely not lavender I smell. It smells like a body in a small room, which is what I am. Notice your sense of taste. If you are thirsty, hungry, have any lingering crumbs from a previous snack or meal. And then apart from my voice, notice any sounds, such as the hum of the computer, other people in your living space, noises from outside, or just your heartbeat. We're going to close this with another deep breath in. And I'll invite you to say one Om. I was just noticing how those vibrations felt really nice in my throat. And that's where the sigh came from. So I'm going to blink my eyes open and come back to this beautiful space. So thank you for joining me for this solo exploration of the aces, eights, and first vertical line of the Major Arcana. I am so excited to be here in this virtual space and learn alongside you. And I am Carrie, your empowering educator. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Lavender, so I'm going to inhale and imagine some lavender. Exhale. Definitely not lavender, I smell. It's more like a body in a small room, which is what I am. Notice your sense of taste. If you are thirsty, hungry, have any lingering crumbs from a previous snack or meal. And then apart from my voice and this and the sounds, such as the hum of the computer, other people in your living space, noises from inside, just your heartbeat. We're going to close this with another deep breath in. I'll invite you to say one om. Vibrations felt really nice. I'm going to blink my eyes open and come back to this beautiful space. So thank you for joining me for this solo exploration of the aces, eighth, and first vertical line of the Major Arcana. I am so excited to be here in this virtual space and learn alongside you. And I am Carrie,